I'm Alice Macmillan. I'm an artist and printmaker from the Isle of Lewis, and I'm currently collaborating with another island artist, Danielle Macleod, on an exhibition in An Lanntair all about Hebridean women. Danielle and I are both fascinated by our traditional Hebridean tales and local folklore, and wanted an opportunity to interpret stories and songs through visual storytelling. There's a wonderfully layered quality to stories that have been told through the years and centuries even. Fact and fiction become intertwined as they are told and retold through the generations, being elaborated on and embellished through time. We wanted to capture this layered quality in our exhibition and represent it visually. We chose to focus the project specifically on female characters, as we felt that women are often underrepresented in our traditional tales. Very often female characters have no name, and if they do, it's quite often common for them to be known by their husband's or father's name. So, for example, wife or daughter or sister of so-and-so. And we really wanted to shine a light on these women in their own right. We have chosen to represent our own interpretation of our favourite characters from research and to not stick too rigidly to our sources. Lots of the stories that we came across featured the same characters, but their stories can vary dramatically depending on the source. So like I said, the traditional way of telling stories through song and word of mouth means that through the years, the tales are adapted and elaborated on so much that stories from the same root can become almost unrecognisable from village to village. So, for example, a fairly common creature in British folklore is a will-o'-the-wisp, which is a lantern carrying sort of fairy or sprite. And in Lewis, traditionally, the will-o'-the-wisp is male, but in Harris, she's actually a woman. So, the will-o'-the-wisp, for instance, was said to have been unknown in Harris until 1812, when a covetous woman tried to overreach her neighbours and collect more than her fair share of Gallium verum, which is a plant bedstraw which is used in dyeing, for tweed. As punishment for her greed, she became a will-o'-the-wisp, condemned to search for the plant forever without rest. It was also important for us to represent the characters we chose in an ambiguous way. Lots of female characters we came across are quite often malevolent or described as evil hags or witches, but we wanted to portray them as neutrally as possible and leave them open to interpretation. Many of the older stories about women stem from grains of truth, but a so-called witch may have simply been the village healer, the sort of equivalent to a nurse or a midwife to begin with, or a woman who's wronged her neighbours and ended up as the evil hag in the story may have actually just been a desperate mother trying to feed her family. So a good example of this is the story of the white cow of Lewis. So the story is told that after one of the raids, there was a famine in Lewis, and the people grew desperate with fear and hunger. The little store of meal and fish in each house grew less and less, and it seemed all hope was dead. Then a woman of Boireannaich went down to the shore to drown herself, for thought she, as long as I am alive, my husband will make and take his share, but if I am gone, there will be more for him and more for the children. But as she started to wade out into the sea, a very beautiful white cow appeared in the water before her and began to walk ashore. It was a wonder cow, the finest beast she had ever seen, and when it reached her, it stopped and looked at her with its sad brown eyes, while its ears against the setting sun shone red as blood. Then it spoke to her in Gaelic. Go home, it said in a soft voice, and get your milk pail, and all your neighbours with their milk pails, and come to the stones of Cànan. The woman hurried home and told her neighbours. One cow cannot give enough for us all, said they, but let us share what she has. So all came. The first woman milked her pail full and gave place to the second. Her pail too was filled to the brim, and so on, till all had enough. Then the cow spoke once again. Come here each evening, she said, and bring each one pail. So all through that black winter the people had milk to keep their children alive. Soon people from the other villages began to beg for milk, and the cow gave to all who asked one pail. Then came a night when a woman came with 2 pails, and the other women were angry, but the cow spoke a third time. A pail for her, she said, and a pail for one with child, for she had brought the second pail for a sick neighbour. So it went on. But among the women was a wicked witch. Seeing that one woman had got 2 pails, she brought 2 for herself, but the cow would not stand to be milked by her, and she got none. She pretended to be sorry and ashamed the next night, came with only 1 pail, but she had taken out of the bottom of it and put a sieve in its place, and she milked and milked and milked, till she milked the cow dry, and it was never seen again within the stones. Another story like this one is from Benbecula about an evil queen. Legend has it that the reason why the church stones were moved from the knoll of the hooded crow was because it was a place accursed, being the home of the grey or hoodie crow who changed her stepchildren into seals. For once there was a king in Lochlan who had 12 sons and 12 daughters. Then his queen died and the king married again, married a very evil witch. When she saw how beautiful her stepdaughters were becoming, she became angry. But it was nothing to her anger when she saw her own son growing up puny and stupid, and her stepsons the very froth of the waves for beauty and courage. So she brewed a spell in the cauldron of spells. She brewed it of the many herbs and the evil that was in her heart, and then she hid it in the food of her stepsons and her stepdaughters. And at the banquet that evening they were turned into seals who slipped from their seats and began to flap and waddle their way to the sea. The king, their father, was annoyed and told her to free his children. Thereupon the foolish queen, sure of her power, rose to her feet and cried to the seal folk, "Yes, I will lighten your enchantment. Every 3rd moon for 3 days you shall return here to see how well my son rules in your stead. The meanest of his people shall you be, you and your children and your grandchildren until the 9th generation, until..." And she dropped gasping into her chair as one who has seen a terrible thing. But she had gone too far. The king now realised what the enchantment really meant. Undo it he could not, nor could he prevent her son from becoming king, for she had said it, and the power of the words is great. But he raised his hazel wand and pointed it at the now cowering queen, and from her chair she arose on the flapping wings of a hoodie crow. These are only a few examples of island stories that we found that we really felt captivated by, but there are so many more. The Boireannaich, however, our project isn't just a retelling of Hebridean stories. We are aiming to represent as many layers of female voices portrayed over time through songs and oral storytelling as we can. We really hope that this exhibition will plant the seed of curiosity and encourage people to find out more about Hebridean folk tales and some of the amazing women behind them. We were so surprised at the sheer wealth of local stories we came across and that we had never heard before when we were doing the research for this project. It's so important to not only preserve them for future generations, but to sort of keep telling them and keep adding to them and interpreting them differently so that they continue to evolve over time.
Ooh.